We begin with a local church pastor who was fired last night. Mount Sterling Baptist Church in Butler let Pastor Jonathan Greer go.
Mount Sterling Baptist Church in Butler without a pastor as of Sunday evening. Pastor Jonathan Greer's termination was put to a vote, 31 people unanimously voting him out of the church. This comes after he says a deacon told him he could not invite black people to their vacation Bible school.
So in Fort Lauderdale, there was 4 cops who were fired over horribly racist text and video that they had put out there. Sousa, one of the cops, was found to have texted Holdings, that's the other cop, "We're coming and drinking all your beer and killing niggers." Sousa later said he did it to fit in on the force and that he regretted using the terms. He said his best friend since 3rd grade is black.
Carla Maloney called NFL players who kneeled during the anthem baboons and ignorant blacks in posts on her private Facebook page.
Good morning, ma'am. And isn't it a lovely morning?
Up yours, nigger.
What did you expect? Welcome, Sonny. Make yourself at home. Marry my daughter.
What the hell is that?
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. You all the way live with Boosie Badass. You in the land of the truth. You in the land of the truth. Know why the world love me, nigga? I keep it 100. What I'm saying is true. The system designed to keep us all up in prison. Section 8 don't want the daddy living with the siblings. They don't want to give us jobs, so everybody around is stealing. Probably ain't listening cause the children having children. You know the world we living in, man, it's straight wicked. They got a cure for AIDS and cancer, but we can't get it. Cops shoot us down cause our skin, they some dirty bitches. They shoot us down on camera, don't even get convicted. Talk to them, badass. They don't like that, they don't like that. You can't handle the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
He's not teaching hate, he's teaching history. And since the American white man has used his control over the press and over the textbooks and over all forms of media to make it appear that he has done us a favor by bringing us here and enslaving us, then has to rewrite history or retell history. And since the white man can't dispute this truth, he tries to defend himself by saying it's teaching hate. It's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth.
So the reason we don't have any black businesses in America is for 3 reasons. 1, we've never had a national plan to start building black businesses in the country. 2, is that whites and other groups are boycotting your neighborhoods. They're boycotting you. And 3, we're boycotting our own neighborhoods and our own stores. That's why we don't have anything.
When you want to conquer a people, you give them a myth. You get them to believe the myth. And then you have, through repetition, have them form the habit of believing the myth.
We've been trained to think about Europeans as our God. So we're at war with who? We're at war with God, because many of us believe in the white image of Jesus, and if that's his son, we know that his father must also be white. So are you trying to tell me we're at war with that?
You want the truth? You can't handle the truth. No truth handler, you.
We got to put off segregation, division. That is the deception that the masters of colonialism brought into Africa. They divided Africa and say, you are Zimbabwe, you are South Africa, you are Nigeria, you are Zambian, you are this and you are that. So we are so divided that they know it, that if Africa can come as one, our children, our people will cease to be destroyed by poverty. Do we actually think about the future of our generations? is because our parents didn't think of us. That's why we are suffering. And if you don't think of your forthcoming children, the next generation, they will suffer the same way you're suffering.
So if you're a black person that is advocating for your people to educate themselves on finance, money, wealth, and investments, but then you're also not advocating for strict black marriage, then essentially what you're doing is you're asking us to educate ourselves and make smart money moves just to die and leave all our money to our white spouses. So we're supposed to buy black and practice group economics just to leave our money to white people when it matters the most. And then we have to ask ourselves, why are black people so comfortable advocating for everything of our own except for our own relationships and marriages? Well, for hundreds of years, you know, we were literally killed if we denied white people access to our sexual organs. So now we fast forward today and black people know they will be ironically blacklisted, so to speak, if they were to advocate for their own relationships, because that's where the real power is.
In as much as we have more people fighting for the liberation of the black community, black people, Africans, we also need a maximum set of people that will be correcting African mentality. Because this has to be balanced. It has to be balanced. If we are fighting for the liberation of Africa, and we are not also fighting to liberate our way of thinking, the wrong side of Africa, the wrong attitude, the mental attitude of Africans, I don't think that even though we are liberated completely, we will enslave ourselves the second time. Why is it that we have prayed more in Africa? We prayed in Zimbabwe. We have prayed in Nigeria. We have prayed in South Africa. We have sought on God. We pray. Generations are dying and passing in the same situation. No change. Because there is no understanding yet. So there are things that prayers cannot solve. It is only the language of understanding, the language of the mind, the language of the body, our thinking. There has to be a paradigm shift.
Everything is your fault. If it is or it isn't, it is your fault. And by us saying, well, it's the devil's fault, or maybe God didn't mean it to be, that is a lie. You are the problem. So when we blame all of these things on exterior motivations, then we don't own it. And if we don't own it, then we never really deal with it.
Don't take accountability.
Accountability at all. And even if it's not your fault, if you feel like it's something that you can't handle, then you won't even attempt it. I think the biggest thing with the story of Jesus was to show people that they really can. But we don't want that discipline. We don't want to meditate. We don't want to separate ourselves from people. We don't want to admit when there's oppressive religion in the land that sometimes we have to turn over tables.
Christianity is one of the real causes of most of the condition that black people in this country are confronted with. It's the religious concept that Christianity has given Negroes in this country that makes us almost incapable of solving our own problems. The black man in this country has a different religious concept when he's a Christian than the white man has. If you notice, the black man is the only one who will turn the other cheek to his enemy, or who will love his enemy, or who will pray for those who despitefully use him just because he thinks that's what Jesus wants him to do. Now, the white man preaches the same thing, but he doesn't practice it.
Talking about Malcolm, the head of the Ku Klux Klan said, I at least respect Malcolm because he's a man and he does not back down. See, very powerful white people, they respect and they know they know their history. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why white people kill black people the way that they do, because they surprised. Like, if they would have done that to us, we would have murdered all of them. And what they don't understand is black folks love them some good white folks.
But I take it then you support the freedom-loving attempts of the peaceful marchers in Alabama and these places.
You don't get freedom peacefully. Freedom is never safeguarded peacefully. Anyone who is depriving you of freedom isn't deserving of a peaceful approach by the ones who are being deprived of their freedom. And when black people in this country come out from under the mental straitjacket that the Negro clergymen have placed them in, and begin to see that the only way you can get freedom is to get it the same way the white man in this country got it from England, or He says he got it from England. He was willing to pay the price for freedom. When you're willing to pay the price for freedom, then you'll get it. But the Negro in this country has never been willing to pay the price for his freedom. All of the price that we have been paying in the past has been freedom for the white man. We fought abroad so that the white man in America could be free today to sick police dogs on us, to beat our people in the heads with police clubs, and to turn water hoses on little women and children and babies simply because they want to walk down the street like decent human beings. That's now the only way you can have peace is to eliminate those injustices, and the American white man is not going to eliminate them. He's going to talk that pretty talk, but he'll still continue to practice those inhuman deeds.
If you want to solve the problem of white supremacy, there's only two things you can do. Praying ain't one of them. Marching ain't one of them. Debating with your enemy is not one of them. There's only two things white supremacy respects. It's the loss of life and the loss of finance. It's about you're either going to affect finances or you're going to affect somebody's lives. If those cops felt like if they killed a black man, woman, or child, and something was going to happen to their family or going to happen to them personally, they wouldn't do it.
The thing about being conscious and truthful is you got to be tough. You got to be ready to get violent because people are always going to try to take advantage of you because if you're winning, they're losing. And those guys cheat and you don't. So you got to be, they got to know not to play with you. They got to know you can't really think that you're just going to have an opinion without some muscle.
Do you think this really practical? Don't you think that the future really lies with a peaceful transformation of the scene?
If the American government, the Supreme Court, the President of the United States, the Congress and the Senate, and all these white liberals have said that they're for integration, and these Negroes haven't gotten any more integration than they have, well, that's more impractical than separation. Practical means that which you can practice. And if the Supreme Court and the Army and the Navy and the government and the President are supposed to be for integration and you still can't get it, why, good night. You can't get it's impossible. But we can get separation overnight because we already have it.
You said earlier that you felt that integration was one of the worst things that could have happened to black folks.
It is.
And you speak a language now that certainly, at a minimum, talks about a total reliance on self.
Yep.
So does that equate to a form of separatism?
Now, this refusal to integrate, surely it must lead to demands for your own state in America.
The black people in this country have been like a misfit wife married to the white man here who hasn't treated us right. And today, since we have given up all hope of him ever changing, we want a divorce. We want a complete separation, but we want a property settlement. And we think that the white man, we think that the American government should give us a property settlement, which means part of this country which they robbed.
And what's so amazing to me, in most cases, like, they come to us with it. I don't have, like, and I'll tell you something I haven't told anybody. I've been getting threats, life threats. I'm not going to white folks' neighborhoods talking what I'm talking. I'm not dealing with them. I am only going to my people. So why do you have a problem and you want to threaten my life for me educating my people?
And every time one of us went away and had a relationship and came back pregnant with a new idea, he saw it immediately. Marcus Garvey went away to England and met with Deuce Muhammad and got fired up and came back to Jamaica and began his quest for the black man. All of a sudden he had a new idea. And because he was pregnant with a new idea, we don't want him to make the rest of us pregnant, so we isolate him. But they were not watching. He came up out of Jamaica and slipped into America, looking for Booker T. Washington. And when he got the appointment, Booker T., I think, had died. So the Honorable Marcus Garvey began to preach, and when white folks looked around, he had nearly 5 million people under his banner, and they were frightened because that's not their nigger. That's not the nigga that I made. Listen to me. When you in the South and an uppity nigga drive in with a fine car in a southern rural town, white folks will come out and say, what you doing here? What you doing here? You be careful what you say to our Negroes. Notice the possessive pronoun. Our Negroes. Because that's all we've been, is their niggas. They're Negroes and they're black people. They own you, nigga.
I was in Tulsa, I'm going to Tulsa, Oklahoma very soon, and we got a call from Tulsa saying, I don't think that we want David Banner coming down here stirring up our good Negroes. 1962? You feel me? So like I said, like that registers to me when Malcolm speaks. The same thing is happening. The only reason why America seems like a better place, because they have all the resources. They have all the power. Anytime, even look at when Obama was elected, you saw racism raise its head like it hadn't raised its head since the early 80s. Like, are you serious? And all the dude did was by law, become elected president.
But that's all we've been, is their niggas. They're Negroes and they're black people. They own you, nigga. That's why you wear their name. You Mr. Johnson, all right, Jones and Walker, all right, and Roundtree and Bulletproof. Sadie Hawkins, that's not your name. Them white folks' names. Why he give you his name? He own you. And he acts like he own you. Go to work for him, he looks at you. Yes, I think I'll hire you. He don't want your husband. He don't want your brother. He wants you. You get all the skills and you're so dignified. Then he start telling a little dirty joke. And you, then all of a sudden his hand is someplace where it ought not to be. And you, now, stop that, Mr. Savitsky. But you don't want to talk too tough because Mr. Savitsky may fire you and you need that job because your husband is home in the bed waiting for you to bring the money home to him. Damn shame, man. And don't act to me like you so damn innocent. Because we know what is going on. And you know I'm telling it right. That's why, brother. Look here, brothers. We are not no real men until we can take our women out from the workplace of white people and provide them their own workplace where they can live in a secure environment and work to build a nation of their own. But that's not their fault, that is our fault. Time men don't want nothing but to shoot a little crap, play the number, play the lottery, chase down a woman, but you don't want to build. You're in a cave, and you're nasty as hell.
Mr. Malcolm, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. I thank you for letting the people over in Europe know what the white man in this country is doing to black people and the hypocrisy he's practicing when he accuses them over there of not getting their house in order. 20 million black people in this country have been just as thoroughly colonized by the American white man in a more shrewd, modern way than all of the colonized people in Angola, South Africa, or any other part of this world. But the white man over here hides his own dirt by constantly pointing toward Britain and France and Portugal and these other countries and accusing them of being colonial powers when he mastered colonialism before those countries ever knew what it was.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I'm telling people for the most part is I don't want your religion. I don't want your help. I just want you to leave my people alone. You know, they always tell black people to get their stuff together, but every time we get it together, you burn it down. Or you find a way to put fraud on top of it. And us being ignorant financially, socially, and mentally, we spend like children. We act like children. So us acting the way that we act right now, America makes billions of dollars off of it.
Integration also took away your leadership. The minute you integrated, what you did, you accepted Newt Gingrich and Bob Dole as your leaders. That's why black leadership disappeared. When you integrate, that means you become a guest. Integration means black people become G-U-E-S-T-S. You're a guest. You're a guest in everything everybody else owns and controls. You're a guest in their hotels, their restaurants, their airlines, their neighborhoods, their schools. You don't own anything in America because you volunteered to become guests. And before integration, blacks had their own communities. They had their own resources. They had their own businesses all over this country. And you young people here today, you don't know it, but I'm telling you, black folk had viable, competitive communities before integration. They had clean communities. We did not have the crime in the black communities. As a matter of fact, before integration, most blacks in America never had to lock their doors. And a part of the problem is we don't lock because we didn't have locks on the doors. You got scared, you put a chair under the door. And you left your window up all the time because you didn't have air conditioning. And most blacks in the South, where I grew up, when the mother would leave home, she'd say, Miss Jones, I'm going downtown, watch the house. And I could walk, as a child, I could walk through almost every house in my neighborhood, through the front door and the back door, because open, nobody cared. Or I could go into a house and borrow some sugar and go home, nobody cared. And everybody knew each other. But what they did with integration, they took the Highway Act and said, if you all want to immigrate, you're going to come here without any power and resources. So they took the Expressway of 1952 Act, and they drove an expressway through every black community in America. And so now, any city I go to, I can find a black neighborhood by finding the expressway. Either the black neighborhood will be up over it, underneath it, or beside it. And now you have no black businesses. And in North Carolina, where I grew up, my family was the only family that had a part ownership in the only black bus line in the entire United States. We didn't have a bus line with 3 or 4 buses. We had the biggest bus line in the state, and the only one in America for blacks. We had over 500 buses. We serviced the black neighborhoods and the white neighborhoods. What put us out of business was not Duke Powell, who we put out of business. What put us out of business was integration. Because when Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks integrated the buses down in Montgomery, and black folk wanted to sit on the front of the bus. When it got to North Carolina, the people in North Carolina, the blacks said, we want to sit on the front of the white buses too. And we said, but we don't have any white buses up here. They said, well, get some so we can sit on the front of them. And so we went out of business. We had black cab companies. We had 2 black cab companies, the Harris and Camel City cab companies. They went out of business. You know why? Blacks didn't want to ride in the black cabs anymore. They want to ride in the white cabs. They wanted to ride in the yellow cab and the bluebird cab. We had our own theaters. We had the Lafayette, the Lincoln Theater chain all over America. We had film companies in Jacksonville, Florida. Norman Productions in Jacksonville made black westerns and black love romance films. We had a black studio in Chicago and a black studio here in Hollywood called Hollywood Productions. It was black owned. We made our own films. Now we have no studios, no distribution system, and no theaters. And what I'm telling you all is you're going backwards. We had mattress factories, we had broom factories, we had blacks in the oil drilling companies. We had a black railroad line in Jacksonville, Florida. We had another black railroad company in Oklahoma. And now we have nothing in the entire United States because integration took it away from us. The other thing the integration does for you, you got to understand, integration also is draining your capital. All your money now is moving out of your community into the white community. Okay? Black America right now is the 9th richest nation on earth. We got approximately $380 billion worth of disposable income. We're richer than Sweden, Australia, Canada, Pakistan, India, and all the black African countries put together. But we're the poorest nation on earth because we violate every principle of economics. Your money is supposed to stay inside your community and bounce 8 to 12 times before it leaves. Black money does not bounce one time. You know why it doesn't bounce one time? Because you don't have any communities to bounce it in. You're so busy integrating. Where are you going to bounce it? How are you going to pass it through another black hand? So as soon as a black person gets paid, before it touches another black hand, he runs right to the suburbs and spends it. He spends 95% of his money immediately outside his own community. He keeps 5% to take back into his community. Out of 5% he takes back into his community, he spends 3% of that in non-black owned hands in his own communities. Look around your neighborhood, goes into non-black owned businesses. Only 2% again, only 2% of all the black people in America keep their own money in their own communities. And then out of the 2% they keep, they then take that down to a white bank and put it in the bank, can't even get a loan. And now you're bankrupt. Now, as long as you live, you will never see a white person get up on a Saturday morning, drive down to a black neighborhood, and get out of his car and go into a black store to buy something made by a black person. If you do, take a picture of it.
Black man in America for the past 400 years has been like a boy in the white man's house, begging the white man for a job, for food, clothing, and shelter. And then after the white man provides him with all of these things, he turns around and has the nerve to get angry at the white man when the white man tries to control his life. How can people, a group of people such as our people, who own no factories, have equal job opportunities competing against a race that owns the factories? The only way the two can have equal job opportunities is if black people have factories as well as white people have factories. And then we can employ whites or we can employ blacks, just like they can employ whites or they can employ blacks. But as long as the factories are in the hands of the whites, the housing is in the hands of the whites, the school system is in the hands of the whites, you have a situation where the blacks are constantly begging the whites, can they use this or can they use that? That's not any kind of equality of opportunity, nor does it lend toward one's dignity. What does a black man look like begging for a cup of coffee in a white restaurant and doesn't have a job to back up to pay for it when he does get the coffee? It's putting the cart before the horse. Instead of the Negro leaders having the black man begging for a chance to dine in white restaurants, the Negro leader should be showing the black man how to do something to strengthen his own economy, to give himself an independent economy, or to provide job opportunities for himself. Not begging for a cup of coffee in a white man's restaurant.
All over America, on Friday evenings, go to any big city, and you'll see blacks lined up to get into Chinatown, to go to China, eat some Chinese food. Have you ever seen Chinese lined up trying to get into a black town? Somebody is not playing with a full deck.
We should own and operate and control the economy of our community. You would never find, you can't open up a black store in a white community. White man won't even patronize you. And he's not wrong. He got sense enough to look out for himself. And you who don't have sense enough to look out for yourself. The white man is too intelligent to let someone else come and gain control of the economy of his community. But you will let anybody come in and control the economy of your community. Control the housing, control the education, control the jobs, control the businesses under the pretext that you want to integrate. No, you're out of your mind. We have to become involved in a program of re-education to educate our people into the importance of knowing that when you spend your dollar out of the community in which you live, the community in which you spend your money becomes richer and richer. The community out of which you take your money becomes poorer and poorer. And because these Negroes who have been misled and misguided are breaking their necks to take their money and spend it with the man is becoming richer and richer, and you're becoming poorer and poorer. And then what happens? The community in which you live becomes a slum. It becomes a ghetto. The conditions become run down. And then you have the audacity to complain about poor housing in a run-down community. Why, you run it down yourself when you take your dollar out.
You're not playing the game to win, you're just playing. And you got to stop spending your money. So then I go to various cities and blacks got the nasty habit when company comes, putting them in their car on a Sunday and taking them out to the white community and say, let me go out and show you some nice white homes. Y'all know what I'm talking about? Let's go out to look at the white malls. And then they come back home and say, how in the world can white folk afford all those fine homes and big houses? It's easy. It's your money. You see what I'm saying?